can see Tony Dungy, NBC Football Night in America, and, of course, the former Colts Buccaneers head coach and a Hall of Famer who joins us on the program. Tony, great to see you. What was your reaction when Jeff Saturday got the job?
Probably like everybody else in the country. It was like, what? Wow. And my wife said the same thing. It's just kind of amazing. I was talking to Jeff probably 4 days ago, talking about doing a speaking engagement down in his home area in Georgia, and could we get it together? And next thing I know, he's the head coach of the Colts. So strange things, strange times, but I think he'll do well.
Any involvement in that decision by Jim Irsay?
No, not at all. I heard it the same time everybody else in the country heard it. Yeah, I'm surprised. I was surprised that he let Frank Reich go at this point in time. Just that one caught me by surprise. But moving forward, Jim, I know he wanted somebody who knew the lay of the land, somebody who was passionate about the Colts. You're kind of limited in your options at this point in time. So I know to a lot of people, Jeff doesn't make sense, but to me, I could see this happening.
Yeah, but explain what role he's going to have as a former head coach. He's never done it. What role is he going to play this Sunday against the Raiders?
He's going to be the leader, and he's going to rally people together. And I don't know this for a fact, but I'm thinking that part of Jim Irsay's thought process is that we've got one of the highest paid offensive lines in football. Our offensive line was going to be the strength of our team, and it's not. So now I have a chance to bring someone in who can get that part of things going, and I think Jeff will do that.
Is this long-term plan for Jim Irsay?
I don't think it is. I think this was 8 games. Let's see if we can make something happen here, and then we'll go from there. Hey, we turn it around and win 6 out of 8. And, make the playoffs, maybe it is. But at this point, what can we do to salvage this season? And, it's funny, DP, I always, when I talk to owners and they're making a decision, usually it's in the offseason, but you talk, what are you looking for? Well, I didn't ask Jim Irsay. I didn't have that conversation, but I promise you what he was looking for was somebody who could lead and energize people and who could get the offensive line fixed. That's what he was looking for in this little window. So, and from that standpoint, it makes sense. I remember when Mike Ditka got hired by the Bears. And Mike Ditka was a special teams coach with the Cowboys. He was a hot-headed guy. I remember saying, this has no chance of working. But George Halas, what he was looking for was somebody who was passionate about the Bears, who knew the Bears operation, and the Bears were the most important thing to him. That's what he was looking for. That's what he found. And for them, it worked. It might not have worked for Mike Ditka anywhere else in the National Football League, but there, at that point, it worked.
You were a coordinator, defensive coordinator, then, of course, a head coach. Give me the difference between somebody who's a coordinator and a head coach day to day, or certainly on game day.
The head coach, you are managing the game. You're making things work. And some guys, now I never did it this way. Some guys stay in that offensive or defensive coordinator role. They want to be the play caller. They're running still one side of the ball. For me, I thought I need to run this team, make sure everybody's in position to do what they do best, to help the coordinators and the assistant coaches do their jobs, and just put everybody in position. And I think that's the way Jeff's going to handle it, and I think he'll do well at that.
Did you call plays when you were head coach?
I did not. And it kind of went back to my playing days. I played for Chuck Noll, and he stayed right in the middle, looked at both sides, kind of controlled everything, had a little bit something to say, but he let his coordinators run it. I played for Bill Walsh 1 year, and Bill Walsh was the offensive coordinator and brilliant at it and called the offenses. But for me, I felt like a stepchild on the defensive side of the ball. Okay, that's his thing. The offense is where he's at. He's never in our meetings. He doesn't know what's going on over here. He trusts, his defensive coordinator, but his thing is offense. So I felt if I ever wanted to be a head coach, I didn't want my guys to feel that way, that I'm in the middle. I'm there with both sides. Anybody can come and ask me a question, and I'm going to know the answer and get them pointed in the right direction. So I always stayed right in the middle, and I let the coordinators do it.
If Jeff Saturday called you, what would you say?
I would say follow your gut, follow your convictions, lead this team very well, support those coaches. First thing he's got to do is figure out who's going to call the plays on offense on
Exactly.
Sunday,
He just
because
fired their offensive coordinator.
offensive coordinator's not there. The guy who called the plays is not there. Nobody on the staff has called plays in an NFL game. So that's the first thing you've got to come up with. And then you've got to support that and say who we're going to be and what are we going to be and how are we going to do this. And he'll do well, but it's a very, very tough situation. I wouldn't wish this situation on anybody.
Talking to Tony Dungy, the Hall of Famer, joining us on the program. We were also talking about what's going on with Buffalo with Josh Allen with that arm or the ulnar nerve, which if you're a pitcher, that's a big deal. I'm wondering, Buffalo doesn't have that cushion in the division where, hey, we can sit him down for a little while and maybe rest that. But what do you think the options are here with Josh Allen? And I don't know how you can protect a guy who plays like that.
It would be very concerning to me because they are built around him. If you're Tennessee Titans, you can put Malik Willis in, throw 8 passes, and you still have a chance to win the game. Buffalo cannot do that. Josh Allen has to be on fire for them to win. So I don't know how you go about it. You can't protect him because he plays too aggressively. And they've got to have him throwing well to win. So this really kind of changes the landscape of the AFC East to me.
How would you devise a defense to try to contain Lamar Jackson?
Well, there's been different ways that people have tried to do it. It's so hard to play zone coverage. That's what I would want to do, is play zone so I've got all my 7 defenders in the back with their eyes on him and they can see him and rally to him when he runs. But these RPOs that people are running, they fake it in there. They get your linebackers to play run, and then there's holes in the zones to throw those quick passes. And everybody is taking advantage of that. So now you have to almost play man-to-man, and that's tough. I think I would probably call Bob Sanders and say, can you give me one game and just spy this guy? You're going to be my middle linebacker, and all you're going to do is spy Lamar.
I don't know, and I've said this before, I don't know if there's a quarterback who has more responsibility than Lamar Jackson does, given that he doesn't have running backs, he doesn't have wide receivers, he doesn't have Mark Andrews there. You're basically saying, Lamar, you cannot have an off day if we're going to win.
I saw them play down here in Tampa. I went to the game, and it was amazing because you're right. He dictated everything on offense. The Tampa defense had to react to him the whole way. And then last night, that was a pretty good defense he was playing against in New Orleans. And he was the dominant player on the field. And he has to do it. He has to be dominant for them week in and week out. And he's doing it.
We talk about NBA teams tanking. How often does tanking happen in the NFL?
I was never around a team that had the chance to do it or did it. The NFL draft isn't like the NBA draft where you get this guy and you're guaranteed success. You know, we've seen Tim Couch and, number 1 draft choice quarterbacks that haven't, done it for you. There was the tanking for Tua, and maybe Justin Herbert, maybe that is not a bad alternative. So I just don't, it hasn't come up. I think you get more of, hey, it doesn't matter how many we win. We're not going to be a playoff team, so let's build for the future. Let's find out what these young guys can do. My first year in Tampa, we said that Trent Dilfer was going to be the quarterback no matter what. We've got to find out. He was the 6th pick in the draft. Can he do it? So we could go 0-16, but he's going to play until we find out he either can or can't. Now, that's not the same as tanking. We didn't say, hey, we're going to lose every game. But we had objectives looking at the future. And I think that's more of what happens in the NFL than just say, oh, Bo Jackson's out there. Let's lose every game so we can get him.
Could you tank? Could you, as a head coach, if you knew that was the game plan?
I couldn't actually tank because it's too difficult. You put so much energy and effort. Guys go out there and get hurt. I can't go out there and say, we're not going to try to win this game. Now, I could say, hey, we're going to play these players.
Yeah.
We're going to play these young guys. We're going to do this, and you're going to give it all we got. And if we don't win, that's okay. But I'm not ever going to go in and say, you know what, we're going to play, but we're going to lose this game.
If Jim Irsay had called you and asked you to be the coach the second half of the season for the Colts, you would have said what?
I would have said, Jim, I can give you some recommendations, but there's no way I can do this, especially if you're going to tell me I can't play the two quarterbacks that might give us a chance to win.
Explain that to me. You got these two. That's why it feels like they're tanking here, Tony, because you're not playing the better quarterback. Sam Ellinger looked lost out there. He looked like he hadn't played. And you got Nick Foles and Matt Ryan who aren't going to play for you. Explain that to me.
Yeah. Matt Ryan, I guess it's the fact that it's contracts and he plays so much, then you pay this money next year. If he gets hurt, this much is guaranteed. And so you think, okay, we're not going to make the playoffs or we're not going to win a Super Bowl, so we're not going to do that. But Nick Foles, I can't understand. I love Nick Foles, and I think in this situation, a guy who can get rid of the ball quick, who knows the NFL landscape, who has done this in the past and led teams on second half marches, I'm not sure why he's not playing.
It's incredible. It really is. Where you're going, all right, are you trying to win? Because you don't want to win because you want to get a high draft pick so you can find your quarterback. Right?
Well, yeah, I just don't know if that's the case. I mean, just looking at the way things have happened, go back, we're watching Patrick Mahomes and we're saying he's generational. He was the third quarterback picked in that draft. That you didn't have to get the first pick to take him. And if you had the top pick and, you maybe didn't use it wisely or you picked the guy everybody thought you should pick and it didn't turn out that way.
Well, you had, the Colts had Andrew Luck, then Jacoby Brissett and Brian Hoyer, Phillip Rivers, who was 39, Carson Wentz, 37-year-old Matt Ryan, and Sam Ellinger. I mean, they have a roster that I thought was Super Bowl quality. It was, could you get something out of your quarterback? And they got nothing out of those quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, I think Jeff's plan is going to be, hey, we've got a dynamic running back. We've got to help our defense out. We've got to run Jonathan Taylor. We've got to be able to throw play action passes, and we've got to execute at the quarterback position. Can Sam do that? Let's see. And then if he can't, gosh, I think you have to try to think Nick Foles can do that. We've seen him do that.
Yeah. I just wonder if they're going to let him, get an opportunity there.
I don't know. That baffled me, that statement that Sam Ellinger is going to be our quarterback the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I just said, how can you say that when you've never seen him play in an NFL game? What if he goes in and he does look lost? Do you just say he's going to be the quarterback the rest of the season when you've got two really good two quarterbacks who've been in Super Bowls?
I know.
How do you say that Sam Ellinger is going to be the quarterback the rest of the season? The
more we're talking, the more I'm shocked that Jim Irsay would not reach out to you to ask you your opinion, as a consult him on what to do in that situation. I really am surprised.
Well, I think he had his mind made up what he was going to do.
Well, would you have talked him out of that?
Yes, I would, as a fan and a former Colt, I would have said, "Hey, Jim, you've got as many wins as the Rams, the Super Bowl defending champs, have. There's no super teams out there. Get this going. Stay with Frank. Let's see if we can win a few games here. Get back in the race. If you make the play, you already beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody's saying they're going to the Super Bowl. You already beat them. So if you get in, who knows what's going to happen? So stay with the best course of attack to get you in these playoffs."
Always great to talk to you. My best to the gang there on Sunday Night Football. Thanks, buddy.
All righty. See you, DP.
That's Tony Dungy, Hall of Famer.